Hey, it's Hunt. You found Hunt on Saints. We're talking black and gold football. Do us a favor. Hit the like button, share your comments below, and hit that subscription button so you can get all of our content. Enjoy. Let's continue with the football angle with the New Orleans Saints. The Saints placed a bet in 2022. They bet on Jameis Winston and Dennis Allen. That was their course of action. Allen was 8-28 in Oakland, and Jameis Winston threw 30 interceptions the last time he was a full-time starter. Saints said, these are our guys. They're going to lead us out of the Peyton Breeze era. And then Jameis got hurt. Dalton went the rest of the way, and it resulted in the first losing season since close to Katrina. It was bad. And when I look back at some of the statistics, it surprised me a little bit because the Saints, we knew, were not very good on offense. They were 22nd in the NFL in points per game. They were 10th in yards per play, but they were 24th in plays. They never had the ball. And then the percentage of their drives that ended the score, they were 26th in the NFL, which is awful, obviously. The offense wasn't nearly good enough. You had injuries. You had a very limited quarterback, and you just weren't good enough on offense at all. The defense was not terrible last year. I remember it not being great. Certainly there were some games that got away from them late. Think about the Bengals game. They had a chance to win it with defense, and they couldn't. Joe hit Jamar for a touchdown. But the Saints were 9th in the NFL in points allowed last year. And last year, they lost games where the opponent scored 10 points, Carolina. 17 points. Tampa beat them with 17. San Francisco beat the Saints with 13 points. Pittsburgh beat them with 20. Tampa beat them with 20. After November the 7th, the Saints played 8 games, and no one scored 21 or more on the Saints. Like, they figured the defense out to an extent. Now, some of the teams didn't try. Like, I don't think San Francisco tried to score 21 points because they beat the Saints 13-0, and the Saints could have been out there all month long, and they weren't going to score on the 49ers defense. But the defense was not that bad. So the question is, as far as moving forward with the Saints, can the defense replicate that this year? Like, can you be the 9th best team in the NFL in terms of points allowed? Cam Jordan's 34, Demario Davis is 34, Tyrann Mathieu 30, Marcus 31, Marcus Mays 30. Like, those guys are in their 30s, and they're big parts of your defense. You do have guys in their prime. Lattimore's 26, Adebo's 24, Alontae Taylor's 24, Pete Werner's 24, Carl Grandos is 27. You bring in a couple of defensive tackles that are in their mid-20s, and Nathan Shepard and Kalen Sanders, and they'll replace Onyemata and Davenport, who I don't think played very well at all. Those two guys, though, that you're betting on to be starters on your defensive line, to be an upgrade from Davenport and Onyemata, and those guys have 10.5 career sacks combined. They both played multiple years in the NFL. So you're hoping Brian Brzee and Isaiah Foskey come in and, like, they're dudes and they rush the passer and they create some disruption as early round draft picks. And I don't think that's unreasonable to expect. Well, expect may be a tough word, but unreasonable to consider that Isaiah Foskey might be able to be a force on the edge, especially after the first couple months of the season. That Brian Brzee can give you some pass rush from the interior, which you got very little last year. If that group can do it and be a top 10 defense in the NFL, you can look at the offense and the schedule, which is a huge piece of this thing, and consider that the Saints have a real shot. Because when I switch sides of the ball and we start talking about the Saints offense, to me, this is not about Derek Carr elevating his game. Derek Carr's going to be what he is. He's been that just about every year. And they've had some weapons on offense. Their defenses have been atrocious in Oakland and Las Vegas. So this is not about the Saints organization elevating Derek Carr. This is about Derek Carr being baseline, being a solid player. You know the baseball stat WAR, wins above replacement? The replacement player just being baseline, you're either worse than that or better than that, and that's how they judge your WAR. Derek Carr is the flatline 0 WAR. He's not one of the 10 worst quarterbacks in the NFL, and he's not going to come out and challenge for the MVP. But this is not about the Saints elevating Derek Carr's level. It's about Derek Carr's steady level elevating the Saints. using the weapons around him. You would hope that Kamara gives you a lot of time. We'll see. You would hope that Michael Thomas returns to solid form and can be a steady number 2 to Olave and ascending to being a number 1. You would hope that the running backs that you've brought in via draft and free agency hit and that your offensive line stays healthy. And if you can be a top 10 defense and a top 15 offense, you'll win the division with that schedule. But when you start talking state of the franchise instead of state of the program here, one thing is very clear to me. There's no like building towards the future or we're at the bottom of some sort of rebuild. Not the case with the Saints. That would have been the case if you would have re-signed Andy Dalton, maybe parted ways with Michael Thomas, maybe let Cam Jordan try to go make the playoffs somewhere else, and kind of tanked one more year, freed up some money, gotten a better draft pick, and tried to attack the quarterback market from the draft in that way. That would have been kind of restarting things. This is not. This is go win. There's no evidence to me that the Saints in 2024 are going to be a lot better than the Saints in 2023. A year older Cam Jordan, a year older Mario Davis, a year older Mike Thomas. Whatever they're going to do with the guys on the offensive line. What are they going to do with Alvin Kamara? He's probably going to move on. Like, what evidence is there that the Saints would be significantly better a year from right now? I don't see it. I do see them as the best team in the NFC South. I do see the NFC South as in a massive amount of turnover. There's no evidence to me that the Panthers are going to be great. Maybe Bryce Young's one of the guys that hits. Maybe he's a flat bust. He's small. He's hurt. He can't stay on the field. They're constantly going to their backups. It doesn't work. You're stuck with Andy Dalton over there. Desmond Ridder, does anybody think he's about to go to the Pro Bowl? I don't. Tampa's shut it down. They had all those stars. They won the Super Bowl, ripped it to the studs. And so that stuff matters when you're talking about the state of the Saints franchise. But this is a year for the Saints. I'm not going to say the year, but they made the decision, okay, we're going to look at this thing. We're going to go attack this and go find a quarterback. We did. And we're going to add. And we'll figure out the salary cap as we move forward. But the second they inked a quarterback to a $100 million deal, which is not outrageously expensive. Look at the other quarterbacks in the league and what they make. The second they did that, there's no rebuild, reboot, reset. No. There's go win week 1 and let's go. That is where the state of the Saints is. And if they don't this year and they throw up another 7-10, then there's going to have to be some answers. Because at that point, likely, I need to see how it played out, likely it would be proven that Dennis Allen's not the guy. There are some people that already believe that. I'm willing to give him another swing at it with a real quarterback. But if Dennis Allen's not the guy and then Pete Carmichael's not the guy, then you're starting to overhaul things pretty significantly. But you've hitched your wagon to Carr. And the wagon doesn't sit there and load up with fuel. The wagon goes. Like, you're going. And so if the Saints were in the AFC North, I would feel awful about where they were. I would say your roster's not as good. You're not flush with salary cap spots. I don't think you're going to be in a position to draft a quarterback anytime soon. In fact, you've already got a quarterback. Like, this looks terrible. But it's all relative. And it's relative to the other teams in your division. And the other teams in your division have hit the reset button. You didn't. So you ought to be ahead of them. No excuses this year. You'd like to stay a little healthier than you have. The reality is, not really how it works. Bengals go out there in the playoffs without 3 starting offensive linemen. The Ravens are trying to win a playoff game with a backup quarterback. Guys get hurt. It's just part of it. You need to build some depth, and you need to go out there and win some games. So from my perspective as a talking head, I'm thrilled that the Saints did this because you would suggest that as of Thanksgiving, they should be right there in the mix. They were last year as of Thanksgiving, and they stunk. That's more interesting than tanking, playing behind Andy Dalton for another year and going 6-11. But it just puts a little more heat on you because it's time to go. Because one of the 3 teams in your division is going to hit on this, and you need to be able to combat that. And Derek Carr's got enough football in him to do that. The Saints have enough wherewithal as a franchise to do that. I'll give you a year off last year. It's time to get back in the mix right now. I think the Saints are in a positive light compared to the rest of the division. Compared to the rest of football, I have my significant doubts, but I have no doubt about the direction of the franchise. It's full steam ahead. Got to start winning some football games. Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.